committee to order at exactly 8:30. Certification of open meeting law requirements have been met. There have been postings of this meeting. I would now like a roll call of committee members. Nutter here.
Adams here.
Stevenson here.
And I know Robert Becker is here. Can you hear it? Can you talk now, Robert? Oh, gosh, darn it. We still can't hear you, Adi, but he's not on mute.
But he probably needs to go down in his settings on his computer and turn his mic on. There.
Should we close the door?
Yeah, we can. Well, maybe not, because this is an open meeting. I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda for today's meeting. Is there a second? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry, I got to give you guys time out there. One of the suggestions, Adi, is to go in your settings and turn on your mic. I would also entertain a motion to approve the 2/6/24 regular meeting minutes. Has everybody had a chance to review them? Any questions, concerns? I always look at you. No. You're like our editor-in-chief. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, aye.
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 And is there approval of the 2/13 special minutes? Ooh, my battery is low. What the heck? All those in favor? Oh, I'm sorry. I need a second. I just got distracted here. It says my battery is low, but I have it plugged in. Who seconded? Okay. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? We do have
Jeannie, I'm going to abstain. I wasn't at the meeting.
Okie doke. Since we aren't being broadcast to the public, so I can't ask people to call in, is there anybody at the table that has anything they need to add to our public comment? Anything coming up?
And I'd love to see the Eagles.
I know.
I'm so excited about that.
About the post?
Yeah. Do you have a camera on them all the time now?
It's not my camera.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not our camera. That was just, I saw somebody else posted that and I thought that's really cool. You know, this is something we can promote to people for this time of the year. And that's actually got quite a bit of traction, although, yeah.
I guess I misunderstood that. I thought that you guys.
No, gosh, I wish that,
Because we had talked about that one.
yeah, I wish we had the budget and I wish we had the foresight that we had like an Eagle cam, but,
Well, we had the force.
Is it charging now?
yeah.
Oh, it was off. The plug was
Yeah,
off.
do you know where is that nest?
Yeah, it's in Village of Trempealeau. It's like on 2nd Street, I think somebody said.
School and Blair Taylor had a camera on the nest at some point.
The lake is open in Strum, so if you want to go fishing, there's not a drop of ice on it. That's my public comment.
If there's anyone interested, next Thursday, the 14th, is the Red Cedar Conference. It's the 10th year for that.
Oh, yay.
It covers $35 per weekend. There is a couple, Kevin Masaryk is one of the keynotes. It's a groundwater talk, and maybe some of the groundwater issues we have in Trempealeau County. They have similar sand outwash plains that get farmed and manured heavily, and they got some huge nitrate problems there too. And trying to think the other two. The other keynote is forestry management, and then there'll be several breakouts. But if you just Google Red Cedar Conference, the information and the agenda and the bios will come up with all that presented.
It's a really great conference. This is the first one I'm going to miss because usually it's early in the month. Now it's the 14th. So.
It's on campus at Stout, and then they shut
Meaning you gotta remind people that they need to turn their mics on when they're talking, otherwise we can't hear.
Oh, yeah,
Sorry,
that's right.
Gene.
Just
we're
keep your
sitting here
mics on all the
chatting
time.
away.
Yeah.
Anyhow, I was talking about the Red Cedar Conference is March 14th at UW Stout, and it's a $35 conference fee and 3 keynotes, and then one of the projects that I'm involved with is the Grassland 2.0. We're looking at bringing diversified agriculture back into the watershed, and we're piloting that with linking up lake management organizations with grass-fed beef farmers who meet a high-quality standard for environmental management on their farms. And it looks like the first one would be between a farmer in the Red Cedar and the Shatek chain.
Oh, wow.
And
That's fabulous.
be buying beef in 10-pound boxes of burger is what we're promoting.
Cool.
And so we're hoping it's successful.
That's where I met Ray Archuleta, and I fell in love with his presentation about
Soil health.
soil health. It was the most amazing thing. I'll never forget it as long as I live.
He's a pretty dramatic speaker and pretty dramatic presentation. So.
I see when I drive around, I see some farmers are doing cover crops for winter. I wish it would happen everywhere, but time will come. Anything else anybody has to say? Okay, we'll move on to G.
I was gonna say, now I can't remember, but I was just gonna say, took a tour. I don't see that on the agenda.
But you can feel free to speak about it.
Yeah, so I will just share here, that I did have a tour with Jack and Dave of Petrick Park, and want to thank them for taking me out there. And just, it was, very.
She needs to turn her mic on.
It is on. It is on, Jean.
Can't hear her.
It's not lit up.
Red is on.
Yeah, it's red.
Oh, but it's not up. Oh, there, that'll work.
So I was just saying, sorry about that. My mic is lit up, but it's not lit up. So I had the pleasure last week of, or maybe the week before, I can't remember how long ago that was already, but I went to Petrick Park with a tour with Dave and Jack and saw the park. We walked the trails and just commenting just how well maintained that park is and taken care of, and think the buildings, everything is in really good condition, and it's a nice asset for the county. So nice job.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to you, Jean, for an update on the Wisconsin Great River Road.
Okay, good morning, everybody. I'm happy to say that the visitor guide is done at the printer, and we are waiting for the phone call for it to be done, which would be this week sometime. Then Sherry is making arrangements for 15,000 of the visitor guides to be taken to Wisconsin Dells, and then they at Vector and Ink. Then they will go out to the 2 rest areas in the state of Wisconsin and be delivered to the welcome centers to the east side of the state from north to south. They'll go to the Wisconsin Governor's Conference on Tourism, which is this week, and then they'll be dispersed from there. And you, Dave, are on the list to receive visitor guides, so I'll talk to you at WeedCon. The film continues for La Crosse, Vernon, Crawford, and Grant counties for the Discover Wisconsin Media Works project that we're doing in partnership with DOT. Drew Nussbaum, as you all know, is our tourism specialist, and we are working with him on the possibility of doing a GEM grant, but it's an 80-20. So us coming up with 20% of money is going to be hard to do, but hopefully we're going to be able to get it done. March 21st and 22nd is the Monroe County Economic Tourism Conference. And a lot of the communities up and down the Wisconsin Great River Road are starting to have events. As you guys know, we didn't have the best winter, so a lot of them suffer, but they still did some cool things. And we're working hard in regards to military. I had the Arcadia Memorial Park put on because it's one of the, obviously the biggest park in Wisconsin. So that puts us again, Trumpealeau County, on the map. And there is a new office assistant through the Wisconsin Department of Transportation that's in the La Crosse office that will be assisting us and the commission with things. And the from today until like April 30th, they are shutting 35 down between Trempealeau and Holman. As we call it, the bottoms. It's going to be one lane with lights because they are taking samples of the the lawn and whatever, because they have to do that when they're working, when they have to replace all three bridges. And good news is April 2nd through the 24th, Sullivan Road, which leads into Perot State Park, is finally being paved. So that'll be a good thing for all the state parks. And that's all I got. Oh, and remember, you guys, I have to leave at 9:30 for my next state. So
Okay. Thank you, Jean, very much.
Hey, Jeannie, can I just add something to, so Jean was mentioning that bridge projects are going to be coming up on the Black River and Tank River Creek. There between Trempealeau and Holman. So DOT's original plan was to shut that road down in a couple years for like almost a year to replace those bridges. And I've been working with DOT to try to see if there's some alternative where they can not close that off totally, you know, maybe keep one lane of traffic like they did when they did the Trempealeau River bridges between Buffalo and Trempealeau County a couple of years ago. So that's still in the works, because I encouraged them to take a look at what the economic impact was of closing that road down, because that's pretty heavily traveled,
Right.
you know, between La Crosse, Holman, going to Trempealeau, and it's, you know, part of the Great River Road. So that dialogue is still going on with DOT.
Okay. Yeah, that would be a nightmare to have that road closed.
Yeah.
Especially this summer
Hopefully,
and fall.
hopefully your connection with them, you can have a little say or a little clout. We'll see.
Want to put the information in front of them, you know,
Okay.
to take a look at the economic impact
Yep.
of it, not just the traffic impacts.
Okay. Thank you, Jean. And both you and Dave can give us an update. We can put on the calendar of the conference. Okay, in April. Okay. We're moving on to number 9. Parks work plan continued from February. Thank you, Jack.
So, I'm gonna continue on the backside of.
Mike on.
I'm going to continue on the backside of the sheet from the work plan from our meeting last week. That's where we ended off. Next on my list was the Trempealeau River Water Trail. So I recently had a meeting with the conservation clubs of Trempealeau County. They gave me some good ideas on how to go forward with maybe a water trail in the county. I've also seen some work that's been done in the files in the past, and it's something I'm definitely going to be pursuing, but there's a lot that kind of goes into it. So having available ports is something that we've been working on. We've got, I think, 2 to 3 new potential kayak and canoe ports from Whitehall to Indy, so there might be some real potential for a water trail to take place with having some new kayak and canoe ports. The other issue is not having any sort of like shuttle service. So we'll be looking into that in 2024, see what we can get through. But Trempealeau River is this county's main amenity, so we kind of want to see what we can do with it. Hiring and planning. So we did go forward with our 2 groundskeepers. We want them to start when the campground kind of starts to open. We will be looking into new positions in the future based on kind of how this year goes. Something that's been done in the past is a campground host. open to the idea, but I know there's been some stipulations with maybe other hosts in the past. So there should be some rules and parameters if you are to have a campground host. One thing I saw was maybe having a 1 to 2 month cutting it off after that, so people don't feel like this is their place.
If I could just interject here, I think when he wasn't really a host, he was hired by Manpower to kind of manage the park. This was like years ago, maybe 8, 9, 7 years ago, and in my opinion, it wasn't really successful. But I think, national parks and many state parks have campground hosts, and it's usually a couple, and they bring their own camper. I mean, you could, and that there are rules about, if you check on the federal camp host website, because I wanted to do that at one time.
Yep, for sure. And those rules are what we're going to have to look into
Right.
before we go forward.
But it's a really great idea, and a lot of people have brought it up, that it's
What's
in conjunction with the two guys that, do all the,
Exactly, just
mowing
to have
and-
someone there.
right, 24 hours a day.
24 hours.
Yeah.
It would help,
what's
in my
the
opinion.
benefit of that? Or what do they do,
They're-
I guess?
They welcome people to when you go to a national park or a state parks, there's a campground host, and they have the firewood by their camper usually. They answer questions about what you can do in the area, where's a great restaurant, if things aren't working.
And they're also kind of working in conjunction with the groundskeepers,
Right.
their eyes and hands that are on site 24/7. Like I said, I would look into it like a 1 to 2 month parameter, so people aren't feeling like this is their thing.
Lori
But
has
we
a
need
question,
to,
I think, Jack, when
kind
you're
of look
done.
at those rules and what other counties / campgrounds do.
Okay, Lori, you have a question, or you have your hand up?
Yeah, not necessarily a question, just some information, if you will. Jack, if you want to reach out to me, I can tell you a lot about how the new programs are working. Work campers are very popular right now, but it's also very difficult to get them. It'd be kind of tough to get them to sign on for a 1 to 2 month kind of thing, but they do have some really great contracts and that type of thing that are out there. And if you want to reach out to me, and normally those are done pretty early in the season, so most folks are kind of done right now. I know O'Neill Creek is still looking for one, but other than that, I think a lot of them are set. But I do have a couple connections with people that want to be in the La Crosse kind of Eau Claire area, so I can certainly pass those folks on to you if you like.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be interested.
If I could just jump in here. Yeah, so Jack, I think said it correctly. These are positions that we may want to look at for the future. I don't think it's in the cards for 2025. I mean, there's things that would have to happen at the park. I think we'd have to have more utilization of the park. One thing I will point out is that, like during Ashley for the Arts, Reed essentially has been out at the park acting as in that position as campground host. Most weekends out at the park, it's a very manageable number of people. So, it may not be cost effective to have somebody staffing out there to be serving that function. One idea that I haven't talked about with Jack yet, but we actually do have a seasonal rental this year. Somebody's taking Site 1 for the whole season.
Oh, wow.
For
Cool.
$2,500. And that's the kind of thing, I have not met the person, but once they get on site, that may be something we want to talk to them about and see if they'd be willing to, maybe serve that role in exchange for something. I really see the value of it, but yeah.
Are you thinking like a discount on their rate, or what are you thinking? And
Well, I don't know. Yeah.
I could tell you that program, the way that program works is you can actually do a swap for that site. Obviously, there's some legal things that you have to do to make sure that, that compensation, like they pay it and then you pay it back kind of thing, but it nets a zero is how it works. But people will work for the site, especially in a tiny campground like that where they don't have, there's not a ton of work to do. So you could just put down what their job descriptions are, and then it is a paid. They get a paid site in exchange for the work. That's how that works.
So that's a possibility that we could look at. I think that's all
Okay.
Yeah,
Can-
and going back to the expense part about it, if we were to look into it in the future, I think having them out during our busy months of July and August would be the target, but this is looking ahead into the future, and I don't know how this affects 2024. I kind of want to see everything, see how things operate. I haven't seen a season at the campground, so first let's get through this year, and then we'll kind of see if it's in the cards for next year.
Okay, that's good.
Okay, so
Wait a second, hang on. I think Buzz, you have a question?
Yeah.
Well, when you're done, I'd like to go back for a little discussion on the water trails.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Definitely. I guess another one I have down as other. We're trying to establish a brand with Edge Graphics out of Arcadia. We've been in talks with them within the last month. Basically, what we would do with them is they would provide us with ability to have a website where we could put the logo that you guys see behind you if you don't have the paper copy from last month. We'd be able to put this logo on different merchandise, hats, that type of thing, and start to put it on all of our things that we offer out, our trainings, anywhere where we're going to have a sign, start using our logo more, and start establishing a brand. It's really going to be crucial with this being Parks and Recreation being new to the county. It'll be kind of crucial to have an identity and have people start wearing a cooler looking logo, in my opinion.
I have the old logo on.
Yeah. And like Edge Graphics does like the logo, and they're working with it. So we'll kind of see what comes with that. But yeah, once we have that thing launched, we'll kind of put it on all our social medias and maybe have like a setup shop at Ashley when we have all those people there.
Okay.
But we would have to, how the online store works with Edge Graphics is things get shipped right from the website to your address. So we wouldn't necessarily have to do any front end work where we're purchasing a bunch of hats, sweatshirts that we don't know if we're going to sell all the sizes. That's the good part about it. It's all on the website. People can order what they want. We might, like for Ashley, get a few things that we could sell eventually, but all in the works for this upcoming year, and let's see what we can kind of get. WHT, if you want to kind of look to see what products we might offer right now, WHTL kind of has this type of thing set up with Edge Graphics. So you can kind of see, if you go to their site and look at their merch, we're probably going to be offering the same sort of stuff.
I
got
love the
any
mugs.
questions
We
on
should
that?
sell those.
Mm-hmm.
They're great.
Yeah.
The coffee mugs are amazing. I love them.
if you have somebody who wants a mug, we've got plenty of them.
We have, so we have 2 of the 3 mugs that we ordered. I think we sold out of one, so we might have to look eventually to get in the one that we sold out of, because we do have a couple of requests for the mug that we don't have.
You should, if we still have a lot in August, you should take them down to the park during Ashley.
Definitely. Yeah.
They'll go.
He's done that in the past.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
All right. Any questions
Yeah,
on
this
Brandon?
is Gene.
Yep.
Can you tell me again? I missed it because there was a lot of background noise. The Edge Graphics is a company where?
They're in Arcadia. They're based out of Arcadia.
Are they part of Supreme Graphics?
That's totally separate.
No, they're
from
separate.
Arcadia. They're totally different companies. Totally different
Okay,
owners.
thank you.
All right. I'll touch on snowmobile a little bit. With the conjunction of the clubs, we do have that area from, if we did get a bridge down the road from River Valley Road to Petrick Park. So we want to kind of start that conversation with our Arcadia Club mainly of, hey, if we get a bridge in here eventually at the park, couldn't we talk to these local landowners and try to connect Petrick Park to River Valley Road? Because that part of the highway for the snowmobiles isn't served right now. And having a hub for the snowmobilers in the future would be great at Petrick Park, because we don't have anything like that. So kind of going to be pushing the clubs to kind of lead that conversation, especially with Arcadia, of talking to those landowners in that area and trying to get a connection there. And then maintenance/equipment with volunteers. Trainings will be created for all equipment that is actively in use. So that's something I didn't see we had anything of. Like, we don't have chainsaw trainings, things where forestry work, we don't have much on file. So if we can start to look on how to get things on file, so if the marks have kind of worked at the park for a little while now, and if they're a little older, if they decide to go on, then we can kind of mitigate the process a little easier of training somebody, having some good trainings on file. So that's something I'm going to be working on this year, and trying to get those things established.
Were the snowmobile trails were never open for a single day this year, were they?
We did have the Buffalo River State Trail open. That's an old railroad bed, so it doesn't need as much snow. So that was open for about 2 weeks this year.
Okay.
But other than that, all our other trails were closed this year.
It's been a disaster, especially up north, for businesses.
Mm-hmm. Yep, definitely a big economic impact there.
Yeah. Could be declared a disaster area for economic. You're going to say something?
Well, I'll just jump in and address that. There actually was some news, like I think it was a week or a week and a half ago, and because of the lack of snowfall, a number of northern counties and into our area as well have been added to the previously existing drought declaration.
Oh, okay.
And so businesses that suffered losses because of lack of snow this year are eligible for some low-interest loans.
Oh, that's good.
So that's something that actually I was going to mention later, but I'll just mention it now.
Okay.
I'm working through trying to make some one-on-one contacts with businesses in the area to see, if they're aware of the program, if they've suffered any losses. Unfortunately, and we just had a conversation yesterday with Seven Rivers Alliance and some of our other local economic development people. It didn't really address like the lack of ice, for instance, and
no fish,
things related to ice fishing and stuff like that. But what I was told is, yep, we're aware of that. Department of Tourism, Governor's Office, WEDC was all aware of that. But this pre-existing disaster declaration that they could kind of piggyback this into worked the best for quickly addressing stuff. It's not that there's not. They're aware that there was other impacts, like with the warm temperatures. So.
Okay, thank you for that.
And I guess to round off the work plan, something that's not on here, we'll get to the priorities list, I think, next. But something that's not on here that came across my desk yesterday is we're going to be maybe working on a recreation system. To offer programming, you need some type of way for parents to sign up. So we do have Camp Spot in place, but we may be looking into different opportunities, maybe something that allows both programming and camp software.
Cool.
So very, very in the beginning stages, so I don't want to say too much.
Okay.
Well, just as a follow-up, Jack, we had the water trail was a pretty high priority in the outdoor rec plan. And there is an old guidebook that was even done for that. I don't know if you've seen that.
Mm-hmm. I saw some stuff, and I thought some stuff was kind of like, when I went to the Associated Clubs meeting, I thought the idea had been mentioned to them in the past, and it hadn't. So this is the first they were hearing about it. And I think it was on the agenda to let them know, and when
Yeah,
I
I
got to
guess
the
I'm
meeting-
more concerned about people coming into the county, that they understand where the existing landings are, especially if it's an easy paddle from Independence down to the park and out for campers. But can we get some kind of GIS of that trail up with the existing? We're kind of been languishing here about 3 years now since the outdoor rec plan was done, and it seems like a simple GIS, click on a map saying, here's the landings, you can start all the way from Whitehall. But at some point, somebody needs to get in the water and canoe that, make sure we have open, that you can actually paddle it without.
And that's
getting
what the
hung up in.
associated clubs were saying. It's a little too, like, they don't want to get into the maintenance of it because
Last year it was,
it's not passable in some areas.
I don't know about from Whitehall to Independence, but from Independence to Peachick Park, it's open. Or at least it was open last year. I guess I
Right.
don't know what happened over the
And I've
winter.
got an individual in Jackson County that would be willing to offer some of that maintenance. He does it in Jackson County.
Yeah.
And, but there is an issue. You have to have permission from the adjacent landowner before you cut any trees out. So somehow, we gotta find out where those blockages are and get in contact with those landowners to see if it's okay to cut those trees out even. So, that is an issue, but at least getting something up, that we have a water trail, that we have existing landings, and they're pretty, once we got it, pretty good.
Yeah, yep, and I know plans for some new ones, coming in the works. I think Lions Club, Indy Elk Rod and Gun, and the one at Peachick Park, so along with all of I think there was like 7 to other 9 established ones.
So somehow we're gonna have to get the river open. If the clubs aren't interested in doing it, how are we gonna find a paddling group that would be willing to take that on?
That's the challenge, and I'd be interested to hear your connection from Jackson County.
I would just, I think it's a valuable piece in the plan, and that is a priority, but it hasn't been followed up in 3 years, is that it should be at the top and that's a priority. So I know we talked about that when we were out at the park. And and I know, Dawn, you had talked about a put-in there. There's a great location for a put-in right at the park.
Yeah, and I know there was approved plan to put one in. I don't know where that's at.
Yeah, it's we have until May to start the project, I think. And we have a 2-year process, so we can get we have $2,600 in awarded grant funds. The project was estimated to be anywhere from $6,600 to $6,900. So kind of working to see what the best option is there for May.
So I think, so you already have identified funds that you have to start using in May? Is that what you're saying?
This is before I got in.
So as a committee, I mean, I'm just suggesting it might be as a guide to Jack, is saying like some other things should maybe be put on the back burner, and that should take priority in implementing that and making sure that we're using those funds and
For sure.
and actually getting that into place and getting the connection from you. I think that makes sense as to, I know in dealing with waterways in the past, it is trying to find who can clear them out and make sure that when trees fall, that they get cleared. And
Strum Rod and Gun did it last year from Osseo to the lake in Strum, and opened that whole section of the Buffalo.
You might want to flip that up to number 1. The rec pond is like a big question mark at this point.
Amy, I think, has some information on
Okay.
the grant. Do you not?
We were awarded for the conservation aids for that project. So that is a going forward project.
But we don't have to use that money by May. I'm
No,
not
we do not
saying we
need to
should
use it.
delay. I'm not saying we should delay doing it, but I just want to make sure that it's understood. It's not like we have to have the thing in place by May or we lose.
That was the
Correct. money.
anticipated
Correct.
Right.
Yeah,
date.
we're not going to. We're probably not going to be able to start before that. But I totally agree that the water trail should, move up the priority list, because I think it's a golden opportunity for us to promote, an adventure that you don't find everywhere else. And, you know, our tourism brand that we're establishing is traverse Trempealeau County. And how much, you know, how much more of a unique way can you do it than, you know, sitting in a kayak, you know, floating through, you know, the wild, essentially. And I really think there's some opportunities, you know, with like working with conservation groups or paddlers groups, even to sort of, you know, get them in the water and, you know, chart, you know, the routes and stuff like that and check things out. I think you could even cycle that right into some promotion, like, you know, this is what we're doing, you know, to get these water trails ready.
The other one that might bite on this would be Clearwater Paddlers out of Eau Claire. I don't know any of those folks, but it seems like they're always looking for a new piece of river to open up. And if we've already got quite a few landings in place, I mean the you know, breaking that's an easy paddle from Whitehall to Independence and get out, and it should be easier from Independence to the park.
It's a nice paddle.
If you go online, there's a number of videos of people that have done it, and I think one of the videos I saw, I think was Whitehall to Independence, or maybe it was Whitehall to Independence to Petrick, you know, where they condensed it down into like 6 minutes.
I think if you go looking through the archives of your paperwork, and it might be 3 previous Dave Carlson's, we had talked, and we actually even put together a flyer to do a triathlon involving canoeing, biking, and
I've seen that.
You've seen that?
And that would
and
be-
I think that would be
that was the Trempealeau Traverse.
Yes,
that's what it was going to be called.
Right,
That's where we
right,
got
and that would
Traverse
be a
Trempealeau
thing
from.
to like bring back to life because a lot of people were excited about it, and then turnover in this world has been difficult because we feel like we start things and then stop and then start and stop and.
Is it unreasonable to put a goal out there that we have this launch put in this year?
Yeah.
Oh, we will put it.
I mean, from start to finish, it's done.
Yeah.
It's on my to-do list to look into
'Cause it does us no
getting
good.
everything kind of
And you have
set
to.
and kind of
Sure.
know the different options. I'd like to stick to that anticipated date of May and trying to have it set by then, but
Jack, do you need support GIS wise to kind of get this trail stuff together? Is that in your wheelhouse, or is that?
I can definitely work with land records.
Yeah,
and
they have a lot of
Annapolis,
stuff already.
And Nick and Tess, they've been very good to me and helping me out with that stuff because I don't have that knowledge like they do.
Either, Jack.
So I've went to them with snowmobile bridge questions recently, and I think they're open to getting as many amenities and opportunities on these maps as we can.
Well, I get some pics of them too, so people know what they look like. And
I'm just going to ask, I guess, we're kind of starting to talk more about Petrick Park and the goals and things, but I don't really see that on the agenda. I guess I wonder if we could talk about that a little bit right now.
It sort of is on the agenda. Jack got cut off at our last meeting, so we're kind of.
Well, this was the work plan, right? And I think, did you wrap that up? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. And then was it maybe you were going to talk about, I don't know. I guess I'm interested in, I know we've been skirting around the issue of maybe the rec pond has been placed on hold, but I don't think we've actually had that conversation as a committee. So could we have a conversation about that?
I don't know. It's not on the agenda. All of that got put on hold via Rebecca because she's looking at the finance, the money, and maybe it'll be something we can talk about at our April meeting. You'll have input for us? Okay.
Okay.
I guess we're still with Jack. Park update. Sorry. My computers won't charge in here, so I have to share this agenda.
The priorities have changed a little bit, obviously. So, I mean, you can see like 3 through 7, going to be doing those this year. Kind of have to. When it comes to like our new sites in our lower loop, we need signage for those now that we've added them to Camp Spot. So that's a situation with that. Disc golf course, it's in rough shape. So put it simple, I'm gonna have to go to the Eagle Scout that did that, and I think it was like 2002 or so I'm gonna have to figure out kind of
He's
how that-
30-something now.
how that went.
I don't
how
think
that
it
went
was
apart.
that long ago, because I was here when he was doing that.
Okay,
So maybe 2013.
13.
But it's still been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Especially with the lower loop sites that we added in, we've got hole 2 that kind of butts right up to group site RV, or group site 2 and RV. So like we have a site that's right next to the disc golf course, which is a safety hazard. So I don't know how many people are playing disc golf during Ashley weekend. Probably should talk about not doing that for that weekend. But definitely going to be looking at that stuff. Program planning, we've got 2 kind of ideas that I'm trying to iron out with Trempealeau County Archery in the music series. Have to look into a few things with that and see if that's even a possibility for this year, but I'd like to make it a possibility this year and this incoming summer, but we're gonna kind of see how these next couple months go.
Could you expand on your thoughts on the music a bit?
Sure.
Please.
So my thinking with this Trempealeau County Music Series was a music series that goes throughout the county. We've got a little support with it with, I think, 2 to 3 different communities said they were interested. But we would have a band out to a different town every couple weeks throughout the summer on a Sunday evening from like 6 to 7:30. Sunday evenings are good. Usually people are around, and stopping and touring through other towns in the county gives us a little county cohesiveness.
You can check with, like, the Olivestrom Lions, they do that during the summer, and the Lions Club
So a lot of
does
these,
the food, and they're jam-packed with people at the park.
Exactly. So a lot of these little towns have their own little thing on a Thursday.
You could incorporate them.
So we would have, like Whitehall has their own little thing, but this would be something that the county does. So
Right. What
we would do is probably go from about June to, I think I had it set to September 1st. Go to different towns throughout the county. I think we have 7 different communities throughout the summer. And then we would have to plan, does the community pay for the band? And then we kind of settle the contract. We have to write up contracts. There's quite a few things that kind of have to get ironed out to see if it's a possibility this year.
I think this is a good point, or a good spot to just point out that with the reorganization in the department that started last summer, where we recreated the parks position and made it full-time rather than 75% parks, 25% conservation, and changed the focus from just a park to Parks and Recreation Coordinator was really critical. And what you're starting to see show up now when we start talking about work plan, and this does say park priorities, but by no means should we look at that and say Petrick Park priorities. And I think we need to make that a little bit clearer, to the committee and to the public, is that what we are talking about is not just having one park, but a total system. And Jack and I have discussed this a little bit, and I've encouraged him to be reaching out to the cities, villages, towns that have parks, talk about how can we assist them, even if it's technical support. This is what Jack's college degree and work experience has been. No city or village in this county, I can guarantee it, has anybody even part-time working on parks. So we have an opportunity to share that knowledge and expertise, much like I'm doing in tourism and economic development with these communities. Second thing is we can get some programming developed, like Jack's archery program. This is something he mentioned when he interviewed with us that I was really excited about in the interview, because it's the kind of thing, sure, we could do it at Petrick Park, but it's also something that then we could replicate and share with different communities. Have
All
sessions
the
in
rod and gun
Osseo,
clubs.
have sessions in Galesville, wherever. And so, and then this music series, ways that we can do it. And above that, you know, we have an opportunity to market a Trempealeau County Parks and Recreation system, you know, that includes not only county facilities and county programming, but local municipalities. And that is the kind of thing when we, you know, lean into outdoor recreation being one of our strengths that really could make us more of a destination.
Right.
Parks capital of the state. There you
We're
go.
just I like it because it's a holistic view of what this committee should be doing from the Galesville to Strum, you know, the whole county. Trempealeau to Strum, Trempealeau to Osseo.
And Jack, I just got to say, has done a wonderful job. I mean, his calendar, when I look through it, is filled every week with meetings, getting out and talking to the rod and gun clubs, different other conservation clubs, you know,
I just
whatever.
youth sports too. I've been meeting with the 4 youth sports organizations, or 2 out of the 4 so far. I got to meet with Blair and Osseo, but met with Wea, met with Arcadia last night, and just seeing where I fit in with recreation in the county, maybe providing those organizations with grant opportunities, seeing where I can fit in and help.
Well, that's so good because that's what the whole purpose of the outdoor plan was, is to help these groups, to reach out to them when they're struggling for like the Strum Trails, they got I'm not sure if they got a conservation grant, I can't remember, but they're doing so much work on their own on those Strum Trails. And, you know, so that's kudos to you, Jack. Thank you.
Thank you. Quick bridge update. For 2024, we plan to pursue the following bridges that need repairs for the future years. Hegg Bridge, currently putting the documents together and starting to finalize kind of my first grant that I've put together. So that's been a process, but it's been a learning experience, and it's going to make the next 2 for County N Bridge and the bridge on the golf course in Osseo a little bit easier, with kind of knowing the steps. And like Dave had said, each one you do, it's going to get a little bit easier. So kind of know the steps now after a while. So getting those bridge grants is crucial for the snowmobile clubs and the safety of our having good trails. So got to continue to pursue bridges in the future, but these ones are on the docket for this next year. We'll also be submitting an annual maintenance grant with the deadline April 15th. Currently gathering information, so we have the highest chance of getting bridge and maintenance grants approved with the council and the state.
And by the way, there's no cost share on those grants. You either get the full amount
Right.
or you don't. So if we get a grant, then we can do the bridge project or projects. If we don't, then we go back in the queue, bless you, the next year.
Any questions for Jack before we move on? You look like
Just a
you have a
couple things,
question.
Well, I was just wondering, we didn't have any further discussion on the bridge in the park with that. And when we talked about the bridge in the park, that was gonna be targeted more as a snowmobile bridge, but it also opens up the whole other side of the river.
It's more in snowmobile, I think.
Yeah, it's hiking, it's biking, we had talked about opening, connecting to the bike trails then on the far side of the park too. And I don't know if that enhances or hinders grants. I don't know how they rank those grants or how they, but it's definitely a year-round usage bridge.
Yep.
Did SEC figure out a way to put a bridge over the river there?
I'll jump in on that. So SRF Consulting, after the February PTED meeting and kind of like, let's push pause on the rec pond, I pushed pause completely on that contract, explained the situation to SRF, because I really think we need to take the time, and we're taking the time, and Becky's involved with this, to look at that, because, the costs started running up real quick when we looked at, a plan. If we were going to do this and this and this and this, this is what the cost would be. So at the appropriate time, we will unpause that contract. my initial reaction was, well, you could still take a look at the bridge thing, but, you know, I thought it was just better to take some time. Sure. That project was always gonna probably be a few years out, and, you know, the preliminary numbers we were getting were 600, 800,000 on that. And I can
Very costly.
I can guarantee you that that's not gonna fit in neatly at all to like the, you know, snowmobile bridge grant type process. That's something we would have to like seek other money and take a look at programs that would be able to help with that or do it or something.
Well, is there a max on the snowmobile bridges then, is what you're saying, Dave?
I'm just, well,
I don't think there's a max, but like, I don't think they'd cover the whole thing, but.
There's a certain amount, Buzz, that they have available every year. And, you know, I think rather than funding, I think it would be a tough sell to say fund our bridge and don't do 15 other bridges somewhere else.
Yeah. So what's the cost like of those smaller bridges you just?
40, 50,000.
40, 50 grand, okay.
Yeah.
Anything, I think I read the other day, anything over 80,000, they only cover 80% of.
It's still pretty damn good for a grant match.
Lori has a question, comment.
Yeah, I do. Just a couple of things. Jack, first of all, I think this is great. The county programming, that's amazing. You're doing a great job on that for sure. Just a couple things with the music. Do we have a music license?
No, none of that has really been set up yet. We need to look into, well, I don't know if you need a music license if you're going to be in other communities.
Lori, can you specify what you're talking about? Because these would be live bands. These would be live bands.
Absolutely.
And they would have to have their own license.
Yeah, it doesn't work like that, Dave. They need. I would love it if it did. Unfortunately, it doesn't. So you need ASCAP, BMI, whichever songs that you're playing. And if you guys want to touch base with me afterwards, I've got a ton of experience on that one because we're going through a lot with that right now with the campground. So you must have a license for sure.
I can check with the Aliva Strum Lions who have bands and musical people 3 or 4 times a year, and I don't recall that we ask for a license.
Well, they may not have a license, Jeannie, but I'm telling you, you have to.
Yeah, I'll ask about it.
It's a thing.
You are supposed
Yeah, for sure. And then the other thing that I was wondering about, Jack, is do you have a copy of the plan approval for the extra sites and how many total sites there are and where they're going? I didn't see that on the website, and I was just making sure that we kind of covered our bases on that.
Can you repeat the question, Lori?
Sure. The site plan, because you did or are putting in new sites, right?
There's sites that we've used before. Jack worked with Land Records to put them on a map so that we could then get them on CampSpot to be able to be reserved.
In Ashley in the past, they were just kind of flooding people down in the lower loop as they showed up. So I didn't like the thought of that when I got into the position. I wanted to have some sort of formalization down there and have established sites. So that's the only time that those sites will be filled.
Let Lori ask the
Yep,
question.
I think you still just need to touch base with the health department there, DadCap. Just make sure that you've got that that plan put together.
Lori, I talked. This is Dave. I talked with Eddie in public health yesterday, and showed him what we're doing, and we were 2 sites under the max we can have under the current licensure that we have, and we're starting the process of doing the renewal because it's up this summer.
Wasn't it for 100 sites?
Yep.
Yeah, we can go up to 100.
Though, Dave, Dave, you do have to have a plan put together. Does it because you have a license for 100? Doesn't mean that you can have 100 without having that plan approved by the state.
Right, I know.
By the state.
We're working on that.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Any other questions?
That's it.
Okay, thank
you,
Lori. I'm sorry that I don't always catch your little hand raised there.
It's a nice feature.
I We are now on Amy and Dave, budgets and review.
Use your mic, Jeannie.
Oh, I'm very sorry. We're moving on to number 12, budgets and review, ED, tourism and parks, Dave and Amy.
I'm going to defer to Amy to
Okay.
run through this, and I'm going to put it up on the screen.
Okay, so we included in your packets, does anybody want a copy?
Thank you.
A paper copy?
My computer's dead, so.
Thank you.
I will say that the website appears to be down for any committee packets.
Uh-oh.
Do you have access to the internet? I had to redo everything to get access to the internet.
In this side of it.
Yep, it's different, so.
Different setup in the old building where it's automatically connected over there.
Okay, so I don't want to go line by line, but I just feel it's very important as a committee that you see at the beginning of the year, you approve where the budgets are going to be. This is probably something that I'd like to see going forward. Just a recap for at the end of the year to see where we fall within the budget. So as a committee, we are fiscally responsible for what we committed to at the beginning of the year. Just with being a new employee myself, I hadn't seen a full circle on things, how it's been going. So for 2025, I do have a few things that we'll need to adjust when we get going for that budget season. So this is kind of, we're basically under budget for the economic and the parks, and the main reason for that is health insurance. We did budget for health insurance for everyone, and not everyone was taking the health insurance, so that brought us down. Otherwise, the other expense items that we do have, we are like right on task. I mean, we're really, really close on a lot of those expenses. So we are being fiscally good.
Do we know, are we pretty confident that all of our bills have come in for 23?
Correct.
Yes.
Yep. This is our ending for 2023. So, any other questions at all?
Good work.
Just a suggestion for, I really like this. Thank you. It would be really cool to add another line in there that shows what we budgeted for 24,
Okay.
so that we could see like,
Sure.
okay, we were
Yep.
under here, but what did we plan for the next year type of thing?
Yep.
We can do that.
Yep, we
Thank
sure can.
Any other questions?
Jeannie, I got a question.
Okay.
Does the money that we didn't use, does it stay in our, roll over into our fund, or does that just go back into general fund?
It does not in the Economic Development Fund. It does in parks.
And Dave is correct with that.
Does that answer your question?
Economic
Yep.
development goes back to the general fund and park stays in parks.
It
Okay.
does. We did that about 10 years ago. Any other questions? Okay. I'm going to throw it to Dave for number 12.
Did we do parks?
I just did both together.
They're both together.
All right, never mind, sorry.
So now it's you, your ED report.
All right, sounds good. Just give me a second here. Just a few things I wanted to highlight
What else?
that have gone on in the last month related to economic development and tourism. Did have a meeting yesterday, kind of the annual meeting with Seven Rivers Alliance, which is our designated regional economic development organization, or REDO. Wisconsin Economic Development Corp recognizes one regional economic development organization in each area of the state. Seven Rivers happens to be ours. Seven Rivers actually is a multi-state economic development organization. Chris Hardy is the executive director, and it includes counties in Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Iowa, sort of that Seven Rivers area. And anyways, just kind of an opportunity to go round robin and catch up on things going on in other communities. Seven Rivers Alliance did announce that they're doing sort of a pilot program to provide some assistance to rural communities. They're going to pick 2 communities to work with coming up here that they will provide some assistance with strategic planning. If a community has got a particular project that they're trying to advance, whether it's in like the example I gave is developing a new park or tackling some other issue in their community, that they would help facilitate a strategic planning process on that. So they are going to ask communities to pony up $1,000 just so they've got a little bit of skin in the game. But what they're describing in terms of doing with the strategic planning is worth much more than $1,000. I don't know how well they've publicized it. They put it out in the newsletter that they sent out last week. I did mention to Chris that it was a pretty quick turnaround because they were asking for applications by April 1st. And if a community, a city, village, township is going to jump into something like this, they're probably going to want to talk about that and approve it at a meeting. And already a lot of meetings are happening this week, and won't happen again until next month. So he said they'd be flexible on that, and I'll try to share that information as well with the context I've got. Housing continues to be something I'm working on pretty regularly. I actually have a meeting tomorrow with a developer who's going to be doing some new housing in Osseo, and he wanted to see if I could help loop him in with the Veteran Services Officer. So Joe and I will be meeting with this gentleman tomorrow to talk about, how can he make his new housing development more accessible to disabled vets and others. So I think that's a really good collaboration. Yeah.
A little tidbit on housing at our last Western Dairyland board meeting. Fresh Start's house is going to be in Strom this year. Oh. Normally it's in Eau Claire County in Fall Creek. So you might want to touch base with Anna because that's exciting to have. Yeah. It's Fresh Start as a group, as young men and women build this house, and it's an amazing accomplishment what they do. But it's the one is going to be in Strom this year. So
that's great.
Check with Anna, and that's kind of cool. And I know that Habitat had was building a house in Arcadia. Yep. Is it done or?
It's getting predicted. It's not done. It's very close.
Okay.
I drove by there and coming from the Arcadia area with that Habitat Humanity. That's the first house they're talking about. One. They're talking about doing more in the future possibly, but it's a good opportunity.
It's a long process. I was involved in the beginning, and it's been a couple of years, but it was the first house in Trempealeau County.
Sure. I think I mentioned this last month, but I did work with the city of Osseo and submitted an application under WEDC's new Thrive Rural Wisconsin initiative. That was an initiative where they're going to provide a lot of technical support and some potential grant assistance with doing projects to tackle rural community needs. I think there were 30-some applicants and they picked 10, so Osseo did not make it on that. But WEDC has said that there may be some assistance to communities that didn't get it, and I'm trying to see if I can get answers to what that's going to look like and when. I am working with Osseo and the city of Galesville to get those communities into WEDC's Connect Communities program. So if you've heard of Main Street program, it's pretty universally known, I think, as a downtown development, central business district type program. Connect Communities is kind of like Main Street Light. Main Street, to participate in that, you have to have a full-time executive director. With Connect Communities, you do not. You don't have to have any paid staff. So it could be a group of 5 or 6 volunteers, or just downtown business owners that can work together, be the committee, do the program participation. So in both cases, I offered to, help facilitate participation in that through my county role. And so I've started the process with WEDC of getting them signed up. And that's really exciting. It's a program that I've used in 2 previous communities. I worked in Whitewater and Columbus. And it's one of those programs that if you actually participate and, do the workshops and, have some of the other activities, you really gain a lot. Mm-hmm. And it's a $200 annual fee. You can't beat that. Not for all the resources you get. Becky and I had a meeting last week with Riverland Energy just to, talk about utility issues in the county, and they're also involved with certain economic development initiatives. They have access to certain things to give grants and loans, so that was a really good update, I think, for both of us.
Have they decided which, the northern route or the southern route?
That's still very early stages
Okay.
there. Our broadband equity and diversity BEAD grant, continuing to work with the 3 partner counties, Buffalo, Pepin, and Pierce. We've got an RFP put together for consultant services to do the assessment of where we do and don't have broadband service, and it's not and it's also areas that are underserved. So even though there might be internet access to a particular place in Trempealeau County, if it's really slow or it's really expensive because your only option is Starlink or whatever, then that's an equity issue. So we're expecting to be issuing that RFP probably in the next week or two, and then with bid opening and that kind of thing, review in April. Okay. And then we'll get going. That's a grant that we have until July of next year to finish the work on it. And then just a couple other things. The Wisconsin Department of Tourism also put out a program for counties to apply for, or communities to apply for. They were calling it a do-it-yourself outdoor recreation analysis training. And it looked pretty intriguing. There really wasn't much of it. You just filled out a little questionnaire. It was like 6 questions or whatever. And that apparently was very popular, and they had a handful of slots, like 8, and they had like 40 communities that applied. I have to double check. We did not get selected for that, which is okay. I think there's other ways to access some of that same information. Wisconsin Ag Tourism Association did apply, and I need to check with them to see if they were selected, because we are part of Wisconsin Ag Tourism Association, and so we might have a backdoor into that training and resources.
Good. Anything else? Any questions?
Yeah, let me just share one other thing real quick. This is on kind of the tourism side. I had meant to talk about this back at our February meeting, and we got strapped for time, so share my screen here. I think I sent an email after that meeting, and I talked about a post that we had done that set a record, like 46,000 views or whatever. And it's always a question of how do we catch that lightning in a bottle again? So last week I was coming back from a doctor's appointment in La Crosse, and I took the scenic route up through Winona, and I stopped and I took a picture of Trempealeau Mountain and Brady's Bluff from the Minnesota side. And that's a perspective you just don't get, looking at it from our side of the river. And I put that up, and just, and anyways, we got, look at the insights here, 326 likes. Oops, what did I just do there?
You logged out.
Oh no, that's not, hang on a second.
That's pretty amazing in that short of time.
Somehow I logged myself out. I don't know how. Anyway, it's up to this morning, 42,000 page views, and the engagement, people that clicked or made a comment or whatever, is up over 1,000. So it just, it's a little bit of trial and error, but people do seem to like views of the Mississippi River. Mm-hmm. So I think if we put those up, we're always going to get a bunch of likes and stuff. But yeah.
I will say, just having explored the Facebook page that you have on tourism, it is you have a very nice, you have good participation in that page. So it's really good to see, and how we could continue to build that. But to have that base, that's very good.
Yeah, we've added just since the beginning of this year about 400 followers. So we're I think a couple away from 3,400. We started the year just a tick over 3,000.
I sent it to all my friends.
So do I. Every time it pops up on my page, I share.
Yeah, and you know that I hate to admit it, but that's just something that just kind of it didn't occur to me how easy it is for us, just like within this committee. You know, we talk about, you know, just about every meeting, like, how can we help you, Dave? And that is one of the ways that you can help me and help ourselves is just by, and I'll send the instructions on how to do that again, because it's so easy. You go to our page and you like click these 3 little dots and then you say invite friends, and Facebook does the rest of the work for you.
Yeah. So Jeannie, even though you share the posts,
Oh yeah, I did.
Did you
the 3
invite
dots,
all of
yeah.
those people too?
And sometimes I wish I could add stuff because I take pictures and I want to post them. Or when I knew that something was going on in the Strum
right.
Trails at the end of February,
Right.
the Moonlight Walk.
Well, always feel free to just send it my way,
Right.
and I will gussy it up a little bit. You know, we've got some different templates and frames we can use, and yeah,
So I can just text my pictures all to you. then.
absolutely.
Okay.
When you put that Trempealeau Mountain up, seems like we don't do anything that promotes the Perot Park. I mean, it's a huge draw too. I mean, it's like we're almost pushing that aside in our tourism thing, where to me, Perot Park is one of the most phenomenal parks we have in the state, and shouldn't we be including that in some of?
Oh yeah, I agree, Buzz. And actually, a lot of the images we cycle through
I know the
are
images
from
are-
Perot, and I generally mention it, and I'll tag those in the Facebook comments. But there's certainly that's certainly an excellent idea, and
the
I
state
could
trailhead is down there
Yeah.
for the bike trail down there, gets a ton of use. We really don't, is that incorporated into our biking trails on the page? I mean,
It should be.
well, is the question, not should be, is
Well,
it?
I think it is, and I think Anne has all of the bike trails, you know, that are you can click on it and see all. I don't know if I think that's Nick is guest number 2, but I'm not sure who guest number 2 is.
Yeah, no, I certainly hear it, Buzz. And with spring coming up, I think it's an excellent opportunity to maybe just do a post that talks about Perot. The one thing I am trying to do, just so that everybody, you know, so it's totally transparent, is, you know, it's Trempealeau County Tourism, and it would be so easy to just post picture after picture of the Mississippi River and the bluffs and Perot State Park and all that stuff. But, you know, I'm trying to balance doing the whole county.
Well, I get that, but I mean, it is one of our major draws.
I agree.
And Crystal Lake Park, that place is packed all summer long.
Yep.
We could do a little tidbit about them, you know, but wish we had that park.
It's a great idea. I think it might be a great idea to go ahead and get some of those pictures and, you know, get them to Dave and because I think we have had better experience with getting stuff up there. But Dave, I think you'll agree, the big thing you need is pictures and stuff to talk about. So if anybody has any of those pictures and stuff, get it to Dave, and that will help. I mean, you know, the more we could do on that, the better.
Do you have a question for me, John? You're looking at me. No? Everything's good?
Needing to move on.
Okay. Oh, that's why you're looking at me. Do you have any more, Dave? I think we flipped to you with the marketing partnership with Visit Eau Claire.
Yeah, so I'll bring this up. I included this in the packet. So we do have partnerships right now with microphone. So we do have partnerships right now with Visit Winona, Explore La Crosse, you know, where we're included in some of their marketing, and we also are in their visitors guides. Excuse me. Visit Eau Claire does not do a visitor's guide. They do everything online on their website, and they do have, you know, some different ways you can partner with them that way. And one of the ways that they do that is they actually create, well, this is, you saw the proposal that was in there. Let me see if I can, I'm going to unshare my screen here for a second so you don't see me going through all of the machinations of finding it here. Stop share. Visit Eau Claire. But anyways, what they do is
Gone.
they've created a series of day trip pages for communities that, partner with them. And let's just visit Eau Claire. And anyways, it's $1,000 for us to do this, and I've got the money in the marketing budget. But to do that, what they would do is they would create a page with, let me see if I can find the day trips page now. Shoot, I thought I had this queued up. Yeah, we'll do this. Well, anyways, what they do is they create a page, and it's got links to different attractions and, restaurants and that type of thing. And basically the idea is, Eau Claire is one of these big regional destination marketing organizations that have budgets that dwarf what we have. And so my strategy has been with leveraging these regional partnerships is, they're bringing people to the area in a much bigger way than we are. And if we can get people to, take a day out of their trip or a couple of days or add a day or two onto their trip and visit Trempealeau County, that's money well spent for us. So what I'm looking for is, and it's $1,000, so I could just make this decision on my own and say we're gonna go for it. And that's my recommendation. But the thing with this day trip page that they would build out with all these links is now you've got specific businesses that we're promoting. And I think we're on solid ground on that, but I was kind of looking for some direction from the committee as to how we should approach that. Should we just pay the $1,000 to visit Eau Claire and build out this day trip page and, include any, put out the word basically to all the businesses that would fit in these categories, give us your information so that can be included in this, and do that, at no charge? Or would we want to suggest a small, that they contribute some small amount, just to kind of offset some of our costs, and to know that they've got a little bit of skin in the game and that they're participating. I don't know what the right answer is. It's just a thought that I'm putting out there. First off, should we do this at all? And I think the answer is yes, but I want to hear from you.
We can't really vote on it.
Huh?
It's not on, it's not.
Yeah, it is on the agenda.
I know it is on the agenda, but it doesn't say possible action, so.
I think we're still okay.
Okay, all right.
Did I not see that there were two options though? One for 1,000 and one for 2,000?
Yeah, so you're correct. The $2,000 option was to include some additional, I think it was, Instagram posts and stuff, and Instagram Reel and TikTok. And the day trip page, I'm an absolute definite on. The Instagram Reel and TikTok, I want to think about a little bit more, particularly the TikTok.
TikTok is what everybody looks at.
I know it is.
It's
I know
very,
it is. I know it is.
If you want to attract.
Yeah.
So we've had this contract with this company in past years,
We have
right?
not,
This is
no,
not-
No, this is a new one.
This
We
is
have not
Visit
this is Visit Eau Claire.
Yeah, this is Visit Eau Claire. You're thinking about River Travel Media.
Are we still working with River
Yes.
Travel Media
We are.
also?
Yes, we are.
So does that, between using the two, exceed our budget for this,
No.
or are we good?
No,
Yeah,
we'll
we're
be-
good.
We'll be good.
And River Media doesn't do anything with like Instagram or TikTok or any of those things?
They don't do TikTok, in fact, they have been, doing some of our Facebook stuff during specific, promotions that we do. River Travel has. And they will do something with Instagram. This is much more of an intensive Instagram. River Travel Media has been doing more digital for us because the Facebook and the Instagram is stuff that we can do ourselves.
What do you mean by digital then? Are we talking about like?
Google ads, YouTube ads, pre-rolls at the beginning of the, like if you watch a YouTube video, there's like a little, 10, 15 second type thing.
And you have to watch
They've produced some of those for us.
Okay. So we're not able to take action on this today, or?
Well, first off, I don't
You
know that
can
any
take
action is
action.
necessary because it's
Because he
the
can
budget.
do it within his budget.
The budget, yeah, is not an issue. I brought it forward because I wanted to make you aware of this and make you aware that is kind of crossing into something we haven't, like, for instance, our website doesn't include specific businesses, Becky's got.
I just would want to be sure that however it is that we approach having businesses be added, that it be open to all businesses to have that opportunity.
I agree.
And make sure that we're very clear about that, so we're not treating anyone
Handpicking.
preferentially. But then also, I'm super for going with like the TikTok and other opportunities within that contract, actually.
Yeah, I do have to look at the budget. We're spending $8,000 this year with river travel to do a few different things, including developing that Traverse Trempealeau County brand a little bit better with some art and so on. But I think we could do the 2,000. I think we could do the TikTok and Instagram stuff as well.
What's in our budget for marketing?
14,000. It's 18,000 this year, plus we have 4,000 for parks marketing. And we've been integrating parks marketing into our general tourism budget. So we have 22,000 for this year between the two, compared to 14,000 this year.
And I think we should do it myself.
Okay.
I think you should go ahead and do it.
All right.
I think it's really critical. And some people don't even look at Facebook anymore. It's all Instagram or TikTok or Snapchat.
And the thing I like about the possibility of doing this with Visit Eau Claire is they've got the capacity and the people that know how to do this.
And
versus us trying to do it.
If you travel from Eau Claire to La Crosse, many people go through Trempealeau County instead of taking the interstate because it's much longer. But we're like the hot spot between the two. Mm-hmm. So I love it. Do you have a question, Adi?
No, I was just listening.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
No, that's okay.
I had to fly here.
I thought you had your hand raised. I wanted to make sure everybody got
Becky,
heard.
did you have something to?
Well, I was just going to say, I think as you can have these opportunities with Eau Claire and La Crosse, and even with La Crosse, that I think it's a great opportunity. I've seen it. And those bigger markets and getting in and paying them to be a part of their marketing can be huge.
Yeah.
And so I think it's an area that we should look to grow. I think to start, and I love the Instagram, TikTok, because I think it hits the younger markets as well. And since it's not a huge cost, I think it's a good idea to get into. But also just looking at how we continue to grow this, but maybe to focus on the, because of the business thing to begin with, I wonder if it's better to focus on the outdoor opportunities first. And then, but anyway, I do believe like Perot Park is a huge asset, and we could do a lot around that. And hopefully
then the National
waterways and things
Flyway,
too.
I mean, we have a national park in our area as well. In Trempealeau.
Anyway, I think it's a great way to go.
Right.
Well, what I will do is I will get back to Visit Eau Claire, and we'll flesh out a little bit more what that Instagram, TikTok will look like. I'm all for it. Believe me, if we can get into something new that has impacts, and the reason that I approached them about this is I constantly get emails things in my Facebook feed for Visit Osseo, which is part of this. That's how they're getting into my Facebook feed, is through Visit Eau Claire. So there's certainly that reach that comes along with it.
Yeah.
I just had one other thought about that. When you initially brought it up and being able to add businesses, like I said, just let's be sure that everybody has that equal opportunity. But I actually don't think we should charge them, at least not initially, until we see how it goes. But we ultimately benefit from any volumes they see. So I mean, I think that's our value.
Yeah.
That would just be my suggestion.
2.5% sales.
Yeah, I agree on that, but I didn't want to make that decision and then.
Yeah, I agree too.
Yeah.
And I just love that we have our little consortium here, La Crosse, Eau Claire, Trempealeau. It's, really good to, And
It's our little golden triangle.
well, and we also have Buffalo and Pepin, and
Yeah.
I don't, I love I think that we are in a really amazing part of the state, so.
So if there's no other questions on that, that's how I'll proceed, and I'll just
Okay.
kind of update you as we go along.
I would suggest one other market is the Minneapolis market. So that would be another really good one to eventually reach out to.
And with River Travel Media, Becky, we haven't really talked a lot about that campaign, but most of the digital effort that they put in with Google Ads and other stuff has been in Minneapolis, Chicago, Madison, Milwaukee, a little bit into Iowa. And we've had some really good results on that. If you don't mind, Jeannie.
And actually, if you go to the Garden of Eden for breakfast or lunch, sometimes there are a lot of Minnesota license plates out there.
Well, there sure are. Winona's only 15 miles away, so
Right.
that's pretty easy. If we can go into item 14, I
Sure,
just
go right
wanted
ahead.
to bring this one back because, we did talk last month about website and going a new direction with that, getting something off the county website that was, more, I don't know, just a little more flashy, a little less bureaucratic. So I had mentioned last month that River Travel Media had offered that they sometimes partner with communities and they will do a website for free as part of a contract with them. So I fleshed that out a little bit more with Amy Gabay and Brent Hannaville from River Travel Media, and the level that they were looking at to do the level of commitment annually they were looking at to do that website for free was $15,000. And with a $18,000 marketing budget, I can't commit that big a piece to just that, not when we are doing things with
Right.
Eau Claire, La Crosse, Winona, and then some of the things that we just do ourselves. So we revisited that idea yesterday, and if we do it sort of a la carte outside the contract, they're estimating that they could do a website for us for about $9,000. And that starts to be, I think, potentially doable, especially if we could split that, upfront cost over, say, this year and next year. I do have to take a look at my budget and see how we can fit that in, but I think it would be a good way to go. Becky?
It's a tourism website, you're
Correct.
saying, right?
Yes.
And I love that idea. The thing that I just want to throw out there is the suggestion for the GEM grant,
Yes.
because it brings all the communities together, working together on messaging, and so that you're all working, on that. And like we talked about, sharing together is really powerful. Plus, it would give us some data on saying, where are we at now, so that we can make a state for saying, this is where we've grown, and this is why it's important to invest in this area of parks and recreation and tourism, because we can see an ROI. So I really like that because they help us get the data first, and so then we can see how we grow. But anyway, that is a process you got to go through and such. But they pay that. We could build in the cost of building a website. Then it would take a little bit longer to get it up and running and all of those things, because we have to go through, getting the communities, and collecting the data. Then they start building out the website and all those things, but maybe a year and a half.
Yeah, this would be a perfect GEM grant opportunity.
Yeah.
Okay, because GEM grants are for for those of you who don't know, joint effort marketing is what the acronym is. And you need to have a specific project, something new that you want to do. And this would be
Perfect.
definitely fit right into that wheelhouse, I think.
Who pays for that grant?
It's through the state,
Department of
State of Wisconsin Tourism, and the match that we have to put in can be our time, so Dave's time and others here, and as well as the volunteers that would help from communities, so there's really,
What do we need
kind
to
of-
do to initiate that process then?
we need to find the due date on that, and then, we can, I have already done that process through Dodge County, and so, we could Dave and I could work together on putting in the grant application, but it's that whole piece of getting all of your partners, that's the strength of it, and so that's, it's work on that end too.
Right.
I think it's probably worth it to
definitely.
You know, even if
Start
it delays
pursuing
it a little
thinking
bit.
about it, yeah.
But how much is the grant?
It's 35,000, no, I'm sorry. Yeah, I believe it's $35,000 a year for 3 years is typically, as long as you are doing what you're saying you're doing, you're expected to get year 2 and 3. So year 1 would be that data collection, or at least this is what we wrote, is the data collection piece and the start of a build out on the backside. Year 2 is the build out of the website. Year 3 is money, we would use the money for actual marketing and putting the website out there.
Well, that sounds like a gem of an opportunity.
You
I love that acronym.
You used it for was it Gold Star Trail in Dodge County? Is that the one you did? Or?
Yeah, no, we actually wrote for the exact same thing I'm talking
Oh,
about.
okay.
They're in the process of, they've
See?
just started it, yeah.
See, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're so happy you're here.
Well, I think that just is to me, to have the data is really powerful.
So there's
Any more
April
on
1st is the next application deadline, then it's August. So
April 1st?
We'll get working on that.
Yeah, we
And I
will.
don't think that's a joke either. That's
No,
the real deadline.
Yeah,
April
I think we
1st.
could do that, though.
It's a month. You can do it.
Yeah.
Do you have anything more on River Travel
Not
Media?
on that, the last thing
Do you want to
here-
flip to 15? Is that what
15, yep. Next-
multi-county grant
real-
application
so
for
real
outdoor
quick,
rec?
what this one is, there's been a group through the USDA Rural Partners Northwest Community Network that's been meeting for about the last year or so. A specific subgroup of that that's been focusing on outdoor recreation and talking about how can we work together as 6 or 8 counties to both promote existing outdoor recreational opportunities and maybe develop new ones that could make this area more of a preeminent type outdoor recreation destination. And out of that work group has come an application to the USDA for a Rural Development Block Grant, RDBG, specifically to do those things I just mentioned. So West Central Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission is taking lead on writing that grant.
Say that again?
West Central Wisconsin
Okay.
Regional Planning Commission
Okay.
is taking lead on writing the grant. And if awarded, they would be the fiscal agent on the grant for the 8 counties that are participating. Buffalo, Pepin, Pierce, Jackson, Trempealeau, Eau Claire, and Chippewa. And I think Clark County are the 8. That might be 9, I don't know. Anyways, so I already wrote a letter of support for the grant, obviously, because we would benefit from that. John Bingle at Mississippi River Regional Planning Commission, they're also, since some of the counties are in MRRPC instead of West Central planning, they're assisting West Central with this grant. But anyways, they've reached out to each county now and asked if they would be willing to commit to spending like $1,000 towards sort of local match for the grant. And I think it would be a good investment. The problem is I'm not sure where we exactly find that money because it's something new, and I don't know that it necessarily fits in. It kind of does, but kind of doesn't fit in with tourism, with the tourism marketing budget.
They called me about that. Can you tell me again, what is it that they're writing for?
It's to get money to help develop a multi-county, basically outdoor recreation cooperative initiative, where we would market the
As a region.
as a region instead of just individually. And I think the grant is supposed to take a look too at like what are some of the infrastructure needs that might be necessary to connect communities, connect counties for recreational opportunities.
Does each county, Dave, have a outdoor rec plan that's up to date, kind of like?
Most, if not all, do.
I think we had to have them done by a certain date, every county. Because if you didn't do an outdoor plan, your conservation groups would not be
Right.
able to apply for grants.
Most,
So-
that's been asked, and I believe every county that's participating has.
There's certain aspects, I think, of outdoor rec that aren't included in those, and I think a big one that we really haven't talked about developing is on-farm tourism.
Right.
I mean, on-farm tourism.
Farm.
On-farm.
Agritourism.
Agritourism, we just haven't put much thought into that yet as a county.
Oh, God, I can't read
And,
this.
you know, and being on Mississippi River Regional Planning Commission, that's like a foreign subject to them. They aren't thinking that way yet either, diversified agriculture or any of that.
Right.
Being part of that whole effort of rethinking what we want our landscapes to look like the next 50 years.
So like I said, I wanted to bring that, this issue forward just for awareness that this is something that we are participating in. The question of, I'm gonna have to take a little bit more of a look at what that commitment of $1,000 that they're looking for, what that would look like, where we would find it in our budget, and when we would actually have to pony that up. If that's $1,000 that leverages a lot more value for us, then I'm happy to do it, but that's something Becky and I can talk about as well.
This is part of USDA.
Yes.
Okay. And when you Google it, there's a lot of information about it if you want. And it talks about what does this program do? It's a competitive grant designed to support targeted technical assistance, training, and other activities leading to the development or expansion of small and emerging private businesses in rural areas, which in my brain would be agriculture is a business, right? Or
Well,
not?
it's,
Oh, but you have to have fewer than 50 employees and less than 1 million in gross revenue.
Yep. The idea with this,
But I can't read the rest of it. It is so
It does
tiny.
mention, that the opportunities that come out of enhancing outdoor recreation promotion is to support small businesses that, would be part of that outdoor recreation economy.
Right.
So could be outfitters,
Yeah, it talks about
transportation stuff.
conversion, renovation of buildings.
Right.
We could get that grant to renovate the lower shelter to house 4-H kids.
Maybe. So anyways, that's all I
That's a
have on that.
possibility.
There's not really any action necessary.
Okay,
I'll keep you updated.
okay, thank you. My site can't be reached anymore, so. Future agenda items.
So I put this on, well, we always have future agenda items on our agenda, but I did make a note that we do have this special joint meeting with
Right, on
ELU
the
coming up
14th.
next week. And I really haven't heard from either committee what they want to do. So this is the opportunity, if PTED has something like, hey, yeah, we really want to make sure this is talked about with ELU when we meet next week.
Just
now's
a
the time.
FYI, Lori has her state convention at that time. I'll be in Montana. I will try to Zoom in. It'll be 7:30 in the morning. I'm an early riser.
I'm not sure if there's any value in having a joint meeting if we're not cooperating between the two chairs to determine what the topics are that we're going to talk about.
Yeah, the agenda should have been set, and I won't be there, I'll be at the Red Cedar.
I know, and I've asked Kellen what this is about, and
Well, I sent an email to Kellen and Jeannie yesterday, and I said.
I can't see it right now.
I said, we have a joint meeting next week. I put it on each committee agenda for this week to, so we knew what agenda items was, and I don't know what else we can do.
You're on the ELU committee. The plan was we were supposed to meet quarterly, just
Right.
to like share information.
There are a lot of things that sort of overlap, right, between ELU and Parks Committee. I over the course of the last 16 months or so, I would say that there's always at least some element of something that crosses at each of the meetings. But I can't tell you that there would be anything that I can think of outside of housing right now that would be a issue that needs to be addressed jointly, but I do think housing would be the thing to talk about there, but I don't want to go there to talk about it without a plan for action items.
Right. Well, and I wasn't even aware of this meeting. I didn't ask for it. It just showed up on my email. And I got back to Kellen saying I would not be here.
Yep.
So.
Well, I know it was something that was decided a long time ago in our, I don't know if you want to call them bylaws or if there was some sort of a ordinance or I don't know, but just that the two committees would meet quarterly. It would probably be valuable to find when the committees last met jointly and what did that look like?
Never. I don't think we've ever met, that I can recall, unless who's been around as long as me? Buzz, you have.
I don't ever recall being
No,
on
you and
this.
I have been on this committee since I started, so I don't recall that we've ever
6
met.
years, we have never done it.
So then,
This was a
So, you know, there was a little bit of discussion about like how the department was gonna be structured going forward, all that stuff. And, you know, I remember Jeannie asking Kellen, like, well, are we gonna be part of that? And he said, yes. But I don't know where that's at now either. So I'm not pushing having a meeting. I mean, if there's no reason to have a meeting, that's certainly an option
Well,
too.
personally, I think we should postpone the meeting until after the election, when we know what the committees are gonna look like in the future.
well,
That's just not
I
even a
think-
month away.
I think that, and maybe because we're not in a position to talk about making any kind of a structural change until I think Becky's had some time to really be here long enough to have a good feel for things, that you probably are right that we should put this off. But I don't know if somebody can talk to Kellen about.
I'll talk to Kellen.
Maybe
I'll
we-
actually see Kellen later today at 4:00. We have a meeting.
I think the reason that, well, I don't want to speak for Kellen, but I guess the sense that I had was that we wanted to meet now because summer months are typically too busy for everyone to have an extra meeting, I guess is kind of the sense that I got. But perhaps we postpone to the fall because or maybe we actually need to just have a conversation about why was a decision made that we needed to have a joint meeting?
It's back to me why we had a joint meeting. It was when Kevin Lean was here, and it was when we were just leaving the clerk's office and being under Kevin's guidance at that time. We were just developing as a PTED committee, and economic development was put in there, and Kevin was overseeing both groups. So I believe it started with him like 3 or 4 years ago, and it never really materialized.
So then I think honestly, Jeannie, if you and Kellen can talk about whether there is still a value in having
Okay.
a joint
Yeah,
meeting.
I see him at 4:00, so we'll talk about it.
And maybe there just isn't that value. Like if that makes sense when we split apart or when there was a new committee developed, that probably made some sense, but I don't know that it does anymore.
Yeah, and I think we met as a whole giant group in the beginning when we were trying to find our way of how we were going to operate.
Yeah, I don't know. You hear all kinds of buzz, right? I think that, I had heard somebody say, well, maybe we just need to consolidate the committees into one at some point too. So, I mean,
The
that was
meetings
something.
would be two and they would be two.
That would be
No,
a 10-hour
I
meeting.
agree.
Oh my God, no.
I'm just saying things that I remember hearing at different times and places about why somebody wanted to meet together. And again,
No.
this is on the agenda for ELU tomorrow. It
These
would
guys,
be interesting to see what they said.
Adi, you have a question?
I just gotta say, why don't we just put this off? I agree with you guys. Put it off until May after the reorganizational meeting. And
Right.
we can discuss it in May so that then we can maybe have a better idea where everybody's sitting and if we even want to have another meeting with them.
Okay.
But I think we should just put it off until May, since most of you guys couldn't make the meeting anyway. So it's only smart to put it off till we got a better idea what we're doing.
Okay, I'll talk to Kellen
Jeannie's
this
going to talk to
afternoon.
Kellen, and you're at the ELU, and I am tomorrow too. So
Okay, we'll figure it out. Thank you.
Yeah, betcha.
so
And
I've
I
got.
think when we talk about housing, it would be good to engage Western Dairyland because they're really involved with housing in this. Well, they cover 5 counties: Jackson, Buffalo, Eau Claire, Clark and us, and have someone from that, so that we're not like just out there on our own and engage
So
other people.
I presented last month, Jeannie, to ELU, and I should have I should have put my presentation on the agenda for PTED today and run you through it. I'll email it to the committee members. I did a PowerPoint last month with ELU, just kind of walking through the housing stuff and suggested a next step. And Becky and I have talked about that a little bit. I think we need to talk about it a little more, but I actually have a framework for a work group that could be put together that would include Western Dairyland,
And
Extension,
housing, yeah.
MRRPC, potentially developers,
Trempealeau County Housing
Yeah, we
Authority.
got-
Trempealeau County Housing Authority, and just have, maybe it's a couple-hour discussion just to say, hey, look, we know housing is an issue. How do we quantify that? What kind of information do we need, or what do we need to do to get off the dime and get more projects going?
Right, okay.
Yeah, I'm super excited about a work group. I think that would be like the strategic way to go.
Me too. We need places for our college graduates who want to come back here to live instead of their parents' basement.
So for agenda items, I just want to be sure that we do talk more about the prioritization of Petrick Park formally, so that it's a
Yeah,
conversation.
we'll put Becky on our agenda.
Yeah, one of the things
It's
that
election day, I believe.
one of the things I want to be cautious
3rd.
about and just take into consideration anytime
April
we're
2nd.
meeting as a group is that the public isn't privy to any of the conversations that go outside of this meeting. So for them, they still are under the impression we're looking at a rec park. Until we have it discussed at this meeting, then I don't feel like we have closed our loops whatsoever, because conversations outside of this meeting aren't shared, right? So anything that is decision that's made or a conversation that's had has to be brought back here.
Right.
I'll look to
Right.
shore up those priorities for the next meeting.
Thank you.
And I think we moved the canoe, bump that up.
Sure, yep,
you,
absolutely.
Jack.
I don't know, it says we're on air and I see Kevin and.
And then one other
We're
thing,
being filmed. We're not on TV land, right?
one other thing I had was.
We're not live.
I had mentioned in the last PTED meeting, before we kind of got cut off there at the end.
We're sorry,
Friends
I'm
of
sorry.
Petrick Park.
Right.
In the last meeting. So I think I wanted to bring this up as a future agenda item, maybe for next meeting. We're looking into pursuing more of Friends of Trempealeau County Parks to not just
good.
basic
Yay, I love that.
Petrick. So that would imply like water trail stuff.
Right.
That's really cool. Good idea.
I'll look into priorities for next meeting and giving some background into Friends of Trempealeau County Parks. and what
I
we're
love that.
Yeah, that broadens it out to include
Yes.
Trempealeau Lakes, all kinds of other things that we can do.
And our little spots.
I think it's going to help us with getting people that want to be part of the group too, instead of just
Yeah, that's a really, really good idea.
Petrick-centric.
I just love you, Jack. You're doing a great job. Okay, Adi has his hand up.
One question, Gene. Would you guys have any issues of moving the meeting to the 3rd instead of the 2nd since it's election day?
I won't be able to be here because my wife's having surgery on the 3rd.
Well, I think the 3rd is ELU meeting,
Yeah, that too.
so.
It doesn't matter if you have all day to vote.
I know, but I got a doctor's appointment that day too, so that's
Oh,
okay.
Darn.
All right.
I mean, I could potentially do that Monday instead of.
The 4th
Monday,
or
yeah,
the
Monday works for
1st,
me too.
April Fool's Day.
Sure, that would be fun.
Is Monday okay with you, Adi?
Does that
Yes,
interfere
yeah,
with
it
any
works
other
out.
meetings?
No. not that I-
The other meeting would be exec finance. Don't they meet on the first Monday of the month?
But at what time?
I'm not.
8:30, 8 o'clock, I think.
I mean, I could have a.
talking about?
April Fool's Day. Huh?
It would be open in the afternoon.
We could do an afternoon meeting.
Oh, that
Are
would
you
be
looking at the
different.
4th, Becky?
She's looking at
Yeah,
the
I was
first.
looking at what yesterday was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are we looking at the first, April Fool's Day?
If
I
it's
would like it
conflicts
to
with
be-
everybody else.
I would like it to be so we can have our last meeting as a group because we don't know what the future holds.
Yeah.
frankly, these morning meetings are killing me anyway. So if we could do an afternoon,
I
that would
can
be
do
great.
an afternoon. I don't have anything on the first Monday. of the
Afternoon works for staff, so.
Well, let's plan for a,
2 o'clock?
I don't know, I'm kind of thinking let's do like a 3 o'clock, because then maybe we can, as a group, go have some interactions afterwards.
On what day? April
The
1st?
first.
April Fool's Day.
Can I call you right back? I'm in a meeting. I'll call you right back.
Choices.
Yeah.
3 o'clock? That's good for me.
All right, well.
I got
do it.
nothing on my date book for
Let's
April
shake
Fool's
some
Day.
stuff
Just
up.
remember when you see that pop up in your appointments that it's not a joke.
So just to confirm, it's April 1st at 3 p.m.
And I don't know if you guys know Jeremiah Segerstrom. He was the HR director at Western Dairyland, and he's retired veteran, really amazing guy. There's a benefit for him on Saturday at Oliva Lions. He's in desperate need of a liver transplant.
Oh, yeah.
And he's an amazing young man. Well, young, he's only 42, so. And the veteran, the Legion is supporting this. It's a benefit for him. Okay, boy, this month has gone by fast. We will adjourn the meeting at what time?
10:20.
10:20.